Hello, this is Professor Foto, and yes, we are at CP Plus 2016 in Yokohama, Japan. It's a long way to come, but this show is definitely worth it. A show of this size and importance is something that all of the Asian consumers love to come to because they know that all the major manufacturers show up to this show and they bring all of their new products. Most of these people stood in line for 2 to 3 hours, and not a problem, but you'll notice that this line worked its way back and forth across the width of the Pacific Convention Center in Yokohama probably 10 to 12 times. So when they show up for this show, they expect to get a lot of action, to see a lot of stuff, play with a lot of toys, sit in on seminars. It's a wonderful thing to attend, so hang on and let's see what happened this year. If you take a look at what the spectrum of new products that were released at this show, CP Plus, you'd be rather surprised. There were probably about 250 major new products that were released during the show. Everything from neutral density filters that were built into converters, Sigma and Tamron releasing some really wonderful new lenses. You're looking at additional types of products from new flashes, SD cards, lots and lots and lots of stuff that got pushed out there during this show. And like I said, this is probably one of the major show. When you get away from CES, this is where you release all your other new products. So that's what makes this show really worth attending. You follow along and take a look at this, but many times the smaller manufacturers don't really get the traffic or the visibility that they deserve in these kinds of situations. I mean, Sigma released 2 brand new cameras with different sensors. So pretty significant stuff, a lot of things that are happening, and a lot of stuff that will be worth covering during the remainder of the year. Well, the largest display that I could find at CP Plus 216 was the Sony display, and they were just pushing everything, pushing their software, pushing their new systems, pushing the new Alpha A6300, the Master Series lenses, the 24 to 70, the 70 to 200, and the 85 f1.4. Sony was working really, really hard to push all this stuff. And then right next door, the next biggest display, probably even maybe more aggressive, was the Olympus display. And the Pan F was really the whole show at Olympus. They had people out there trying and everything. They had techs. They had 1-hour lines on each side of the booth. They had people up there just working with the 300s. Olympus is really doing a lot. They're pushing forward. They're making a lot of push and shove in terms of trying to make rooms and really make their format really established really well. They had a wonderful display, which you'll see here, which shows each version of the OM series, including Pan F. So I'm expecting more big things out of Olympus over the next, let's say, 12 to 18 months. Well, let's talk about what was going on with Nikon at the show this year. They introduced 3 compacts that were pretty nice. The DL24 to 500, the DL24 to 85, and the DL18 to 50. That denotes the equivalent focal length. The DL24 to 500 is in essence a 24mm to 500mm zoom. What makes it interesting is the fact that it does have a mic jack, input mic jack, and it does have we'll take the ME1 shotgun mic. The DL18 to 50 is probably the widest lens that you can get on a compact from Nikon today. It's an f1.8 to 2.8. It does shutter matches out at about 1/16,000th of a second, which is not too shabby. The interesting thing is that all 3 of these compacts are using basically what is the same 1-inch sensor. They all have what is a maximum, I think, of about 12,500 ISO. The price range on these runs from $649 for the 24 to 85 to $849 for the 1850. So that was a pretty interesting little deal. I think these will probably be very popular, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. That was probably the most exciting news out of Nikon at the show. Well, here we are over at Zeiss, and Zeiss came out bringing every toy that it had to the show. You notice we were just looking at the 50mm Milvus macro lenses, and you notice these beautiful cutaways that they had on site. Basically, these are here to give people a good idea of how much quality work and effort goes into these manual focus lenses, and these really are the epitome of the zenith of manual focus lenses. They've got a huge long focusing range. As anyone knows who's following Professor Foto, we've already done a review on the 51.4. We're doing a review on the Milvus 85 1.4 also. But this is a great line of lenses, and for manual focus, the value is there. It's worth looking at. It's worth testing. I can hardly wait to move on and test some of the other lenses as well. Well, you can see right behind us was a huge table, glass covered, with all of the M-series lenses that Zeiss has made for M-series cameras. This table was just almost kind of like looking at a jewelry store. These lenses, again, are phenomenal in their class and a great value and really worth seeing at the show. Think about them. Well, now we move forward towards Voigtlander, and right here we're looking at specifically a series of 35s, the 35-1.4 and the 35-1.7. Voigtlander just does a phenomenal job, but when they get into these wider than normal ranges, the lenses are super sharp. They are great, and they work on many levels, and there's something there to fit everyone. We're looking forward to testing these as well very soon. Here you see a cutaway of some of the modern current DSLR lenses that Zeiss makes manual focus for Canon, Nikon, and Pentax in some cases. These lenses have been out a few years, but they're still a phenomenally great quality product. They fit, they work, they're affordable, and something that will last you almost a lifetime. Well, here we are at Voigtlander, and right in front of us we have two legendary Voigtlander lenses, which is the ultralight Helars, which is the 12mm and the 15mm in M mount configuration. But Voigtlander announced that they're going to start making Sony E-series lenses, and they're going to start on the ultra wide end of things, and so there's a possibility of some very attractive lenses, maybe a 10mm. I think this is going to be very exciting for Sony owners and a lot of people out there. The E-series lens will adapt to a lot of other configurations. We're going to try and do a special on these lenses as soon as we can get our hands on them, which hopefully is going to be in the very near future. Well, Canon was out there firing on all cylinders. As we can see here with the video from the EOS C500, they were pushing this model extremely strong. It puts out a great quality product. But the other thing also is the fact that Canon came to the show and was out giving touchy-feelies with the XX720, the GX7, the EOS 80D, all of which were high on Canon's list of push of just about everything. The C500 looks like it's really going to go head-to-head against the D500 of Nikon, so it'll be interesting to see who wins this battle. The GX7 looks like it's got a real sweet spot. It's going to be basically taking on Fuji to a great extent, maybe Olympus. But this should be pretty exciting stuff for Canon fanboys out there, because there's a lot of new product coming, and they probably haven't seen this much new product in a long time. Also, new 18-135, which was brought back from the dead, which was a pretty old, boring lens. Well, now we move across over to Fuji, and Fuji has what I think is probably the hottest new product on the market, which is the new X70. I really think Fuji has gone ahead and just eaten Leica's dynasty alive. They've created what is a digital version of a tri-Elmar lens, which is a 28, 35, 50, which is adjust. So it's basically a fixed focus, not a zoom. It's a fast lens. The camera has a fully articulating screen. It's got that nice big 16 million pixel sensor. It can do 60p 1080i recording for video. This camera really has it all. And the thing that's nice is it has an auxiliary viewfinder, which allows you to see the 28, 35, so you can decide which to do. You can snap across and do it. The price of this camera is extremely good, and yet the X Pro 2 has been sucking up all the press, and as well it should, because the X Pro 2 is a phenomenally good camera. Fuji is on a big-time roll, and basically they're building a legacy that just can't be believed almost. The show for Fuji was great because they held a lot of seminars. The only problem with their seminars, they were all in Japanese, so it was a little tough to sit there and watch through a seminar, but you could basically get the idea. Fuji is pushing more and more. There was a lot of product available for people to play with and touch and get their hands on, but that X70, for me, I can hardly wait to test it. It's going to be a real heartbreaker for a lot of people. Well, we're over at the Pentax booth, and the most anticipated camera of the show was the Pentax K1 full-frame 35mm digital. A very interesting camera, has some interesting features. 14-bit RAW formatting, 204,800 max ISO, pretty tough, weather sealed, fully articulated rear screen. I was kind of surprised in the fact that the kit lens, which is a 28-105, was a 3.5 to 5.6. I really would have expected a 2.8 to maybe a 4 or 4.5. The 15 to 30, which is a new lens coming for this camera, I think will be more exciting than anything. We're going to have to wait and see what the story is in this, because in some aspects I think the K3 II is actually better than the K1. But they also brought along their little shake and bake display to show us how well the vibration system works on it, which is pretty cool. So it should be a good product. I've shot with the Pentax 6.7 for years and years and years, and we'll just have to wait and see how this goes, because the jury is really still kind of out on this. Next up is the Cowell lens group out of Japan. Most people know Cowell for the 6x6 they made in the mid-60s. Had some very sharp lenses with very comparable performance to Hasselblad, Rolleiflex, and Veronica. And nowadays, Cowell has introduced a whole new line of micro four thirds lenses, an 8.5, a 12mm, and a 25mm. The 25 and the 12 are f1.8. The 8.5mm is a 2.8, which is very fast for these lenses. The really exciting thing is the fact that now they make a 3 focal length single spotting lens that also works as a super telephoto lens, and is adaptable to Canon, Nikon, Pentax, mirrorless Sony versions, as well as the fact that it does work with smartphone cameras. This is a really nice package, and like I said, $350 to $800 gives you lots of options. So looks very affordable. I'm waiting to see the pricing on this, but it currently is available in the US. Well, I hope you enjoyed our summary coverage of CP Plus 2016 from Yokohama. This is probably, hopefully, going to be a motivating reason for a lot of you to come back and maybe even attend the show next year yourself. This is Professor Foto saying, look forward to seeing you, and look forward to some of our additional stories from a lot of the individual products from the show and stuff that's not just a surface treatment. Remember to find us at Professor Foto at Facebook. You'll be able to find us at Twitter, and you'll be able to find us at a couple other sites very, very soon. Thank you. Bye.